From the second Cave Crave's title card fades and the darkness presses in around you, there's no gentle onboarding, just an ice-cold realization that you, yes you, are about to belly crawl through a labyrinth that wants to swallow you whole. In VR, that's a special kind of thrill, and for the first hour, it delivers in spades. But was this thrilling start enough to carry me through the rest of the journey? You start with a simple task: reach the exit of the first cavern. No map, no mini-map, just a pair of pythons, a stub of chalk, a stubborn headlamp, and the questionable wisdom of trust your gut. My gut immediately started second-guessing itself when I hit what the community calls the cheese squeeze. It's a sandstone slit barely wider than a shoebox. To fit, you yank both control triggers, hold your in-game breath, and wriggle like a worm whilst clicking in the grip buttons. Halfway through, my lungs copied the mechanic, and a bed of sweat reminded me, mate, you're in your living room. Breathe. That moment sold the fantasy better than any trailer ever could. It made me grin like a fool. In that instant, I thought, this is why I love VR. But the journey wasn't always this smooth. Mechanically, Cave Crave is VR gold. Climbing feels like the devs studied every successful VR climber and asked, what if we made you do that, but in the tightest of spaces? You can plant pythons anywhere and haul your body through the craziest of spaces and peer down into an abyss your mind swears is a 10-story drop. The feedback loop is delicious. Spot an empty tunnel, swing in an axe, pull, repeat. Every successful crawl space feels earned. And the sense of claustrophobic scale beats anything else I've tried in VR so far. But visuals weren't my biggest gripe. There was another issue far more frustrating, because yet every peak has its valley, and Cave Craves comes literally millimeters from your face. Because you spend half the game hugging the ground, the low resolution rock textures can't hide. They're serviceable at arm's length, but crumble into blurry soup when you're nose to wall. It's the VR equivalent of a 4K photo accidentally exported at 720p. The moment the illusion cracked, I let out an audible shame, because the rest of the presentation is so strong. After a few levels of the caves, I felt brave, so I loaded horror mode. The spiders are 8-legged heart attacks, hairy, creepy, and blessed with the kind of animation polish the rocks could only dream of. I screamed, internally, swung a python in panic, and promptly learned you can't fight them. Contact equals instant restart. Frightening? Absolutely. Limiting? A little, because insta-fail kills tension once surprise fades. Still, that first chase was living rent-free in my head for a while. Tourist mode sits in the opposite pole. Same caves, zero stakes. Without fresh objectives, it felt more like a developer fly-through than a mode for players. I bailed after 5 minutes and went back to the story. But was horror mode's instant fail mechanic the worst offender, or did something even more frustrating await me? Now the elephants in the cavern. First, collision glitches. On 3 occasions, my virtual head popped through geometry, gifting me a panoramic view of the skybox. Lovely, but immersion roadkill. A quick checkpoint reload fixed it, yet each break yanked me from the fantasy. Second, controller spasms. In tight tunnels, my virtual hands jittered like they'd mainline caffeine. Annoying, but never fatal. Third, a progress bug, where missions refused to recognise that every boulder was chalked. I spent an hour retracing arrows until frustrations boiled over. If I weren't reviewing, that might have tipped me towards a refund. Yet, none of these prepared me for how abruptly the entire experience ended. Here's the thing, none of those issues erased the grin I wore whenever the game worked. They're dampeners, not deal breakers. Fixable blemishes on an otherwise brilliant concept. I kept crawling because the core loop is that good. The credits roll roughly 3 hours or so into the game. Yes, Cave Crave costs $15, but price doesn't excuse putting coming soon gates front and center without the decency of an early access disclaimer. It's like buying a paperback and discovering the last 3 chapters are blank pages promising future ink. Each existing level shows inventive design, none reused layouts or gimmicks, but the abrupt finish feels like snapping a film reel mid-climax. I wasn't angry so much as crestfallen, and yet, despite feeling shortchanged, there was one mechanic I genuinely adored that gave me hope. For a brief window, I felt like a genuine speleologist. I placed pythons only on the right, so that if they appeared on my left, I knew I'd looped back. That breadcrumb system wasn't in the tutorial, I had invented it. Moments like that, where the game trusts you to problem solve, are magical. Sadly, fossils add nothing but achievement fluff. The narrative could be gold, but right now it's fool's gold, shiny and then gone. But would these glimpses of brilliance be enough to redeem Cave Crave completely? Here's where my optimum kicks back in. The devs have already patched quest bugs, teased 5 new story caves, introduced a climbing rope tool, and floated co-op spelunking, all free updates. Their previous game, Thief Simulator VR, received strong post-launch support, so I'm inclined to believe them. Still, roadmaps are promises, so is Cave Crave's future guaranteed or just another early access mirage? Well, that leaves the question then, is Cave Crave worth buying today? If you crave, see what I did there, unique VR thrills and can forgive some jank, yes. Just know you're paying for an unforgettable weekend, not a month-long expedition. Either way, keep it on your radar. Few VR titles capture "you are here" immersion this convincingly. There's a scene in adventure flicks where the hero strikes a rock, revealing a vast hidden chamber. Cave Crave feels like that moment frozen in time. We can glimpse the grandeur beyond, but the passage hasn't opened yet. When it does, I'll happily crawl back, pythons in hand, ready to get lost all over again.